when you look at the challenges our country is facing today at home and abroad, I honestly think the American people know that we need change in the White House, but I think they also know we need change in the Republican Party, and I'm going to work my heart out to earn the right to be our standard.
A new poll done on behalf of the Competitiveness Coalition finds that President Trump enjoys a commanding lead among likely GOP voters with 47% of support. And as you can see, a number of candidates are rising, but still well below Trump. And his former vice president, Mike Pence, is just at 4%. We're still over 4 months away from the Iowa caucus, and Centerpoint contributor and former Massachusetts senator and ambassador to New Zealand, Scott Brown, spoke with Mr. Pence at one of the backyard barbecues he holds in New Hampshire.
Well, Mr. Vice President, thank you for coming to Rye. And obviously, folks, I'm Scott Brown. I'm doing this for Centerpoint for Trinity Broadcast Network. So my first question is, sir.
Good to see you, Scott.
Well, first of all, it's great to see you. Just for folks who are listening, we had a fantastic relationship. I was the ambassador to New Zealand and Samoa, obviously with our interest in Cook and Niue and Antarctica, and you were the go-to guy. And I will say, as I said out there, I thought what you did in that last debate when the president asked you to suspend the Constitution. First of all, I'm a lawyer. I did con law. I think I got a B, but you don't suspend the Constitution, and the fact that you upheld your oath. And we've taken many oaths, not only in the military but in politics, to uphold the Constitution. So I want to thank you. I thought that was probably the most powerful moment in that debate, and I want to thank.
Well, thank you, Scott. I'm humbled by that. And I was humbled at the expressions of support here in New Hampshire tonight. It was that was a tragic day at our nation's capital, but I always believed the most important thing was that I keep my oath to the Constitution that day, and that we see to the orderly transition of power. Once the riot was quelled, law enforcement did their job. I thought that day of tragedy became a triumph of freedom because we showed the resilience of our Constitution, the resilience of our country. And as I said to a few people here, for me, our Constitution is what we have. It's what protects our First Amendment, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, which protects our Second Amendment. And I want people to know, if I have the privilege to be president of the United States, I'll always keep my oath to the Constitution.
So what's the plan? I mean, obviously, former President Trump has a lead, obviously, in the primary. I have felt that people are going to break in New Hampshire a little later because they are out here. You saw them. They ask questions. There's Republicans, Democrats, Independents here, and they're all around the country, and they're on the left and the right. There's no more blue dog JFK Democrats, and on the right, people are saying, you're going a little too far. So how do you close those numbers and get the nomination?
Well, one of the things I've realized since we moved back to Indiana a couple of years ago was that I'm well known, but I'm not known well. You and I have been friends since your history-making election to the Senate and the extraordinary job you did representing the United States in the Asia Pacific. But as I travel around the country, people don't know me as a leader of a successful conservative state. They don't know me as a leader in Congress that frankly fought against the big spenders in our own party for many years. And so the ability to reintroduce ourselves has given me great encouragement, because everywhere we go here in New Hampshire and in other early states around the country, we continue to get that affirmation. I think people in their heart of hearts know that different times call for different leadership. Look, I don't think anybody other than Donald Trump could have defeated Hillary Clinton in 2016. And I was proud to run with him and proud to serve with him. But when you look at the challenges our country is facing today at home and abroad, I honestly think the American people know that we need change in the White House, but I think they also know we need change in the Republican Party, and I'm going to work my heart out to earn the right to be our standard bearer. I look at the challenges facing the country, and the reason I'm running is because I think I am actually the most experienced, the most qualified, the most tested and proven conservative in this race. And if the challenges facing American families and our economy, and the crisis at our border, and the war on energy, and the rise of China in the Asia Pacific, war raging in Eastern Europe, call for anything, I think they call for proven experience. And everywhere I go, I have people telling me that they're grateful that we're running. And I'm very confident that the people of New Hampshire, people of early states around the country are going to choose leadership fitted to the times. And we're going to work hard to tell our story and tell them that we'll be ready day one to turn this country around.
All right, Mr. Vice President, it's great to see you.
And Senator Brown joins us now. Senator, welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
It's great to be on. Thank you.
Okay, so we see time and again that Republican likely voters say they're ready for change, but that's not reflected in some of these polls. What's the disconnect?
Yeah, that's a great question. You see poll after poll that the president, former President Trump, still has a commanding lead. If you notice also in that poll, though, the combined choices, for example, when you look at if it wasn't President Trump, who would the next one be? DeSantis is about 20-some-odd%. So he's still down, but he is I would say, clear number choice. But you see some real movement with Nikki Haley. Obviously, you see some. She's now tied with DeSantis here in New Hampshire. You see a little bit of movement with Christian Vivek Ramaswamy. And listen, I did see Vice President Pence last night at one of our barbecues, and we had about 150 people on Labor Day, and he was very good. Bottom line, he was really good. He spent tons of time answering every question, meeting every single person, signing whatever they had, pictures. And it was probably his fourth stop yesterday evening on Labor Day. Like I said, and I think people around the country really know, the elections traditionally start around Labor Day. So I think you'll start to see a lot of really just digging into the issues, a lot of challenging the previous record of the former president, pointing out the differences between Biden and all the candidates, and it's going to be fun.
Speaking of Pence, I've often heard him say, people know me as the former vice president, but they don't know me well. So what did he do at your barbecue to help people get to know him better?
Well, listen, they know he was the vice president, but they don't know who he really is. Because let's be honest, the duty of the vice president is not to be in the forefront, and especially when you had a personality like President Trump. Very little airtime available to the vice president. I can tell you, though, when I was in New Zealand as the ambassador of New Zealand and Samoa, and obviously Cook, Niue, and our interest in Antarctica, I spoke with him on a bi-monthly basis or whenever I needed him, and he was my go-to guy. And without a doubt, without his help and support, I wouldn't have done as good a job as I needed to for this country and for President Trump. So the job of the vice president, God forbid, is to be there in the event something happens to the president. And he did his job remarkably well. And it's interesting to point out, at the barbecue last night, and as well as on the debate, a couple of people really brought it up, and I asked the question. I said, "Look, sir, listen, at the debate, you said that the President of the United States asked you to suspend the Constitution, and you said no. You did your job. You said you were going to support the Constitution. And as a result of that, a lot of people are giving you a hard time." And he said, "You know what? Hey, I don't care. I don't care if I win. Bottom line is I did my job, and I will always support the Constitution." I'll tell you what, that got a lot of people just going, yeah, and they applauded, and because it's true. I mean, that's who we are. We follow the Constitution. We have an orderly transition of power, and he did his job. And as a result, he's getting a little pushback for it.
I only have about 30 seconds left, but speaking of the debate, we saw a different Pence at the debate, more aggressive. He had the most speaking time of anyone. Is that his new approach? Is that what you saw at the barbecue, a little more aggressive Pence?
Well, he was relaxed yesterday. He didn't need to be aggressive, but he has an event up at St. Anselm's coming up. He also he made the second debate stage, and he will be the Vice President Pence that I always knew. I always knew him to be outgoing, aggressive, really focused and laser sharp on all the things that he wanted to get done.